what you've described your view of God as kind of this ultimate friend and ally and someone who gives your life meaning and wants you and thinks that you specifically have this beauty, not, necessarily, to yourself, and that there is a justice and there's life past the one but how, that kind of sounds to me like a coping mechanism, and I feel like how do you see that as anything more than that?
A coping mechanism?
Yeah, does that make sense?
Sort of a Freudian coping mechanism, you mean?
Yeah.
Like wish fulfillment, projection, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and just
Okay, I've got it.
Welcome aboard. Is God a coping mechanism for all the chaos and wrongs in this world? This young lady asks Dr. Lennox if believing in God is merely a wish fulfillment to find solace and comfort in suffering and pain. Watch his prudent response to the tricky question.
My attitude, a coping mechanism. Yes and no. A thing is not false if it enables you to cope. Neither is it true if it enables you to cope. And I think one of the best analyses of this has been done by Manfred Lutz in his book Eine kleine Geschichte des Größten, a brief history of the great one, which is still only in German. He's Germany's leading psychiatrist, and he makes this point. If there is no God, then Freud can explain brilliantly why belief in God and the resurrection and so on is a coping mechanism. If there is no God. But if there is a God, Lutz says, Freud will give you an equally brilliant explanation why atheism is a coping mechanism, to enable you to cope with the fact that you never want to meet God. And he says, on the substantive issue, whether there's a God or not, neither Freud, Jung, Frankl, or anybody else can help you. You've got to look elsewhere. And so it's very important to ask your question. That's the question I started off with, remember, in Ireland. Was it simply Irish genetics, coping mechanisms? But don't kid yourself. If a thing is true, it'll probably help you to cope. But it's not true because it helps you to cope. You've got to have stronger reasons than that for believing in its truth.
Dr. Lennox observes rightly that the idea of coping mechanism could be easily shifted to the worldview of atheism. Imagine a world without God. Then there is simply no absolute moral authority or obligation to seek the good of others. The fact that God does exist proves that the belief in God is not merely a coping mechanism, but it is the only ultimate source of meaning and purpose for life. Now, another lady asks if hope is necessarily aligned with our search for truth.
So you said that you wish to pursue truth, but then you also said that a reason to believe in God is the prospect of the afterlife because it provides hope. So I just want to know, is hope relevant to truth at all? And shouldn't the basis for believing just be the search for truth?
Sorry, I can't hear what you're saying. Can you come closer to the microphone?
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to know, do you think that hope is relevant to truth, or should the basis for us believing just be the search for truth?
Is hope relevant to truth? Well, it is if the hope is true. And it comes back to the other question. Christianity gives me enormous hope, but that isn't enough. I want to know if that hope is based on evidence, if it's true. And I just come round in a circle. The fact that it gives hope is not evidence that it's false. But it doesn't prove that it's true. We've got to decide whether it's true on other grounds. But if it is true, then it's not surprising, since one of its central words is hope. And perhaps that's a good place to stop, because I believe that you have a motto in this university. What is the motto, sir?
Well, we should all say it loudly and together perhaps, but in Deo esperamus, right?
Do you know what that means? In God we hope. Well, it is clear to me, ladies and gentlemen, that if that is true in Brown, there is great hope for you. Thank you very much.